Alright folks, we're back again with the Spitfire. This is going to be part 2 of the rudder servo repair. You can see it moves. I had to switch batteries. So it doesn't quite come to the perfect home position here, so it just keeps running. And depending on which way it's going, you can actually change it so that it'll stop. But one thing you got to be careful about is you'll burn up the motor if you let it go too long, because that would really work on it. See, as you move this, it'll change the speed. So I just got it to stop by manipulating that back into position. So what I did was I went downstairs and I grabbed the servo that I just had dead from the plane that I had downstairs. And what I'm looking for is that one gear. And so we already tested to see if the screw would be received that was originally in this, because as you can recall, it's just this part that's bad. There's simple one tooth is stopping this plane from flying. One menial tooth. Yes, that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if the same tooth broke on this servo, which would not surprise me for 1 second. Weird thing is I almost never see the motors go bad in these things, and which is strange. I guess actually I can't think of a time when I've had a motor go bad. But I'm just going to pop this out. This is out of the Reassembling. So obviously there's two factors to check. One factor is that the screw will go in. Okay, so this time I'm just going to pull off the top. Hey, look at that. The gear on this actually broke. On this one, it's a different break point. So we might actually be able to get away with that. Well, we'll see. It may not mesh up. It looks like maybe a little bit different gearing. Oops. We want to leave that on. I don't want to disassemble this anymore, and it's got to be. Of course, you could just throw it across the room like that. Luckily, I can see it. Okay, got it. Sorry, guys. So what we're looking at now is we're just looking to see if this thing is got all its teeth intact, and then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to see if it matches up to the other style, which my guess is it probably won't, because it looks like one's coarse and one's fine. So you can see here that these are different ratios. So even though the screw fits and the control horn would actually go on, these are different ratios. So just out of curiosity, let's see if it fits. It will probably not work. It won't mesh. It does have the D shape. Just try it. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't fit, which is not a surprise. But see, the thing is, if you happen to have another gear that broke, a lot of times you can take this one out and actually replace that one and this one, and it will usually work. So what I did is I preemptively did one extra step when my video stopped, strangely. And it sounds like my servo's trying to take off on me again, so I gotta take the fine tip pliers. In my case, I'm using forceps. Just center it. Okay, so it's centered enough, and that magnet's holding it, incidentally. So what I did was I grabbed a bag of servos, brand new servos. So our choice here is kind of a tough one. Like, do we go into the bag of goodies and get ourselves a brand new servo? Do we go with like a Metal Gear Turnigy servo here, which I'm a little bit tempted to do that just for the sake of, I don't want to screw with this again. But let's just be realistic. This is a tail dragger and a rudder servo. It's probably one of the less critical servos in this whole operation. So what I'd like to do is I would like to find my bag of dead servos, which is in here somewhere. And let's see, maybe I actually pulled those and put them in a different area. Nope, here's my dead servos. Dead servos, guys. Oh, look, dead ones. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my dead servos and I'm gonna look for a viable match. There's one, it looks like. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get in there and we're gonna find one that matches up. And that one might be it too. Nope, that's got a different tooth setup. So what we do is we use our basis for comparison. And actually that one's got a less deep tooth to it. And it's also got a fine thread on the off take. So that one won't work. So I'm actually just gonna dump these out here in a pile where you guys can't see off screen. Sorry about that. And I'm just gonna grab another servo. Ooh, that's pretty darn close right there, guys. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that, look at that. That, my friends, that probably came out of a Horizon Hobby airplane. Okay, and I gotta say, guys, let's just get this out there because I know you're thinking it. I've had very few servos from a Horizon Hobby product go bad. I have had very many servos from other brands go bad. So I am not going to sit here and throw stones like Horizon Hobby has junk out there, because truth is, I feel bad that this happened. I'm sure they do too. And yes, I am treating this a lot different than I am treating my Arca-Sem. And you know why? Because they're not going to dick me around for a week and a half, not shipping me parts and making me send dead parts back and all this ridiculous bogus crap. They're going to take care of me like I'm a good customer. Okay. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's try it. Oh yeah, baby! Oh yes, looky, looky, looky. I'm gonna zoom you guys in so you can see it. Look at this perfect mating surfaces. Sounds good, looks good, smells good. What? Okay. Now the trick is reassemble it without screwing something up. Okay, so now that that's on, I already took the pleasure of testing a Turnigy tip against the original one, and it fit. That means this one's also going to fit when we put it back in the hole. Now, one thing I'm noticing is it might not be quite as deep as the original factory one. I don't think that's going to be an issue. So now we just have to reassemble. So we're going to get this tucked back in. Then we're going to go back over here to our pile of goodies, which consists of the back of the servo. And we'll zoom you guys out just a little bit. We'll autofocus you. And just be careful not to degrade the wires. Oh, and you'll notice there's a notch on one side. Okay, on this side. So you want to, usually I just kind of line up those screws. You could take the screws out too if you wanted. But I've done this so many different ways, but honestly what I usually do is whatever gets the plane flying quickest. And the thing that's cool is that I'll have another servo now, a brand new servo that I can use in another project, or I'll, you know, take this one out and put the new one in. Yeah, right. If this thing flies, I'm not going to touch it again until there's a problem. Oh no! Don't do that! Ooh, that was not cool at all. Goodness gracious, guys, that's the problem when you're working on your brand new planes, is that you're bound to like bump it or do something stupid like that. And it's not like, I mean, we're humans, we're gonna make mistakes. This is just part of what we do. Okay, so now they're tight. And we're gonna bring this one in tight. I'm not going so tight yet because I want to make sure that all four get aligned. But I'm bringing them into where they're close to where they need to go. Okay, and then I'm going to make one last round to make the final tightening. Okay, so get this pretty tight now. Now, before we bury this back in the plane, we're going to test every function before we finish a step. Okay, so we're going to, okay, we're tight enough to where we can call that good. Now we're going to test it. We'll give you guys an ultra close-up look. Everything feels good. I think it's going to be all right. So now I just need to try to set it in there in such a way that we can get it renegotiated into where it needs to be, which is glue side in, because there's this glue material here. Okay, so I'm just guiding it in with my middle finger, and then I'm gonna let her fall into the hole. So now I need to flip this thing over, so I'm gonna pause it here, and we will come right back to you when we're on the other side. All right, guys, so we're back with you now, and we're just trying to get everything installed back into the plane. And you can see where that servo is sitting. It's kind of upside down, backward, in between where it needs to actually end up. So I'm gonna use these forceps now to just kind of negotiate it into this hole. Hear the AS3X fighting me on the other side there. Okay, so we've got the sticky is going the other way. So now what we need to do is just get this stuff down in there. So we want to walk it in between, but we got to keep that wire below. There we go. Now so I can spin it. Okay, so there's sticky left on it, so I'm going to just leave the sticky where it belongs, and then we're, like I said, we're going to test it between each step. This was square when we took it out, okay? I'm just going to make sure that slides down. And it's really hard to tell for sure if I'm getting purchased or not, just because there's so much crap in the way. Oh yeah, so far it's moving. I'm going to just use these to hold the servo tentatively in place. Listening carefully. Everything sounds good, it looks good, it feels good, it smells good. What? So I'm gonna move on to putting some screws back in here, guys. The first things first, you gotta get the screws that actually hold the servo in position. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get it mounted, you're gonna flip it upside down, you're gonna test that it falls off. It doesn't fall off, you're gonna go in for the attack. You're gonna get it started, and then you're gonna pull the screwdriver out. You're gonna get your other screw. You're gonna put it in your hand, you're gonna stick it on the tip, you're gonna test it, you're gonna make sure it doesn't fall off. Come down in here, you're gonna start the screw. Now this time you're gonna tighten it all the way because you're in position, you got both screws there, just like if you're tightening the lug nuts on your wheels, you wanna kinda get everything positioned before you tighten. Now that we're tight-ish, we're gonna torque it to where it feels like it wants to slip. And then we're gonna leave it. Then we're going to take note of our position there, and we're going to watch again. Rudder. Oh yeah, baby. She's a-working. Oh, it's the worst feeling. Well, there's much, much, much worse things in life, but this, pertaining to this particular function of life. Okay, now you're going to take your third screw. This is a screw that held on the control arm. You're going to flip your screwdriver upside down, you're going to make sure it doesn't fall, and then you're going to stick it in the hole. And you're going to tighten it. And you're going to listen for weird behavior. And you're tight. And then you're going to wiggle it. Oh yeah, baby. She's back fixed. So now I just need to go through the process of reassembling the plane, and I'll give you a final here in just a minute for a final look. All right, guys, now would be a good time to do a little bit of cable management as we get ready to reassemble this. I'm just going to show you how I usually handle that. Whichever side you get slack from, pull it. Find the first point where it wants to split off and have extra slack in the other direction. So you can see there's extra slack now. Tie it. Use a zip tie. Remember, you're not trying to break things, you're just trying to hold it together, okay? So that's tight. Use a pair of sharp side cutters. And the side cutters are gonna also help you to tighten it just that last little bit, okay? And then you're gonna throw out the tail, and you're gonna repeat it until you can't reach. And then when you flip the plane over, you're gonna do the same thing, okay? This is gonna be for us our final tidying up. And the reason we're doing this now instead of before is because my presence of mind was working for me. Normally I tie everything up and then I realize, oh yeah, maybe something won't work. Well, I'm glad I thought something wouldn't work. And this is a Horizon hobby plane, so anyway, okay, so we got that tight, and I'm sure there's some Horizon haters out there thinking, oh, I have problems with the Horizon all the time. Well, I kind of do too as well, but they're just so much easier to deal with when there is a problem. Okay, so we got those two tight points. Now when we put it back in, we'll be able to manipulate it back. So now just avoiding particularly the prop is sharp on the back side of the blades. Now we're actually gonna, first of all, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, but there's only 2 that are in. So 2 of them fell out. I found one already. The long ones go up front, if I recall. And I'm just gonna validate my theory. Yeah, the long ones go up front and the short ones go in the back. So I just need to find the shorter one. And I'll go ahead and search for that here in a second. But one thing you can do is you can give this a twist. And what that's going to do is it's going to tidy up the wire just a little bit more even still. And I'm going to do that twice. Now that we have all the wires landed, we know where things are going. Okay, so everything is nice and tidy. And what this is going to do is it's going to give us more control over the wires once we bring them forward, which is what we want, is control of the wires. Okay, so we're going to drop it down there. Then we can go move this box that was supporting things for us. It's actually got Horizon Hobby products in it. And then we're just going to search a little bit more. I'm going to pause it and we'll find that screw and come right back. Found it. Had to pull my blanket down to do that. Okay, so now we're sort of catching something. So just gotta kind of slide stuff together. There we go. Okay, so now at this point, you're gonna go back to your Allen wrench and go ahead and tighten these screws back down, and we'll just get those started, and we'll come right back to you. There you go. So we got the wing back on. So we can flip the thing back over. Just verify you got good purchase and tight joint here. There we do. Oh, I should be able to open the landing gear again. We'll just get rid of our blanket. Go to the landing gear. I love that. It's so cool. Oh yeah, awesome. Everything is working. So now we got to just finish up all cable management here. And this plane will be ready to fly. It sure looks ready to fly, that's for sure. And it's just got that feel of quality to it, which you don't always get that with planes, I've learned. I always try to talk myself into the fact that this cheap plane will be good or that cheap plane will be good, and they always suck every time. That's part of the reason why I don't mind spending a couple bucks extra on these. And that's something that took a while for me to figure out. I was in my normal mode of operation, which is get the cheapest thing you can get because you're a cheapskate. But it doesn't always work that way. And in fact, usually it doesn't work that way. So I'm just trying to find a position. It's very awkward to reach planes. Certain types of planes are worse than others. You just have to work until you find a comfortable spot. Now, what I'm trying to avoid is I'm trying to have these wires so that they're not, well, not like this. And I'm struggling to get them in a configuration to where I can actually get them out of the way of the linkages for the servos. Because really that's all I care about. I don't even care if there's a big bundle of them down here, but I need them out of the way of the rudder and the elevator servos. And so far so good. I mean, they're out of the way right at the moment. The trouble is, what if I go inverted and then I'm using my rudder? That was the battery getting done, guys. So you have to think about these things in a 3D world, you know. This thing isn't just going to